All right, welcome again, everyone. We're very excited to have you. I'm Jeremy with Product Hive, and you have Ryan, who's one of our new volunteers planning this event. So before we start, I just want to thank our volunteers. I don't know if you know, but Product Hive is 100% volunteer driven. We have several here today. Danny doing volunteer. Raise your hand if you're a Product Hive volunteer. So lots and lots of people, give them a high five. They work their butts off to bring content to our community. So thank you. We are very excited for today's presentation. We were just talking about it. We've been talking to Rafi since April, trying to get this planned and coordinated. And we've been stalking Spiff for several years because they're doing some really cool things here in Utah, another unicorn company. So we're excited to have Spiff. And thank you, Spiff, for providing this generous lunch for all of you. And thank you, Podium, for hosting us. So some housekeeping rules. Grab more food. There's still some left. There's also drinks in there. And then over here on the left is the restrooms. And then join us tomorrow for another Product Hive event at Underbelly downtown. They have a really sick building if you haven't been. And we have 5 designers that are coming to do a panel. So join us there. And without further ado, we'd like to invite Raphael Bres from Spiff, Chief Product Officer.
You can tell I have an accent, yeah, so you can guess where I'm from. No, I'm from Texas. No, yeah. So I'm French, Raphael Bres, Chief Product Officer at Spiff. I don't get to talk too much about myself. Generally, I will talk about my products, but this is the exception for Product Hive. I'm very happy to see the attendance. I was impressed by the group, the association. I met Valerie, a co-founder, this morning. Been working with Jeremy and Ryan. Angela, I know you were a member, and I see also my team sitting there, so I'm very excited. So when we met in April, we were talking about sharing, and I'm going to share things that I believe maybe are not written or said. A little about myself. So I've been 25 years into enterprise and SaaS business. You see some logos there, but actually Oracle acquired PeopleSoft, so I was part of the boat when they acquired, and then Oracle moved me to the US, and I moved to Microsoft. Started in Deloitte as financial audit, but I have financial background and information system. And it's very ERP. So ERP, as you know, it's a large footprint, generally large teams. And one of the aspects that is pretty difficult in ERP is localization. And I shipped many times the same countries, depending if I was at PeopleSoft, Workday, or Microsoft. I shipped 50 countries, sometimes multiple times. And it was for all the modules. And I've been managing teams since 1998. I really enjoy it. It's part of my role. I enjoy building world-class product management teams. And it's easy to measure. It's after, when you see the results, the success, the feedback from the customers, this is how you can say, okay, we did a good job, we are able to grow people. And I will share with you some of the techniques and tips that I learned along the way. I thought it was also important to tell you my whys, because I started from large enterprise, and then I went to very smaller companies. And it's very unusual. Generally, people will start in small companies. Yeah, someone is giving, okay, I hope the sound is good. So people will start in small companies and they aspire to go enterprise. Me, it's the opposite. Once you have the taste of enterprise, when you have done it, the only thing you want to do is to bring this knowledge to a smaller company to build the software and to apply all the lessons you learned. Can be technology, can be managing people, can be also strategy. And this is why I wanted to put my whys. Why did I join Spiff? First, our CEO, the executive team, our investors. So I met, I was not looking for a job. Actually, I never looked for a job. But Jaron contacted me. I got a one-on-one with him. Then I met with the executive team. Then I met with the investors. Then I did my own due diligences on Spiff. I was looking at all public information available, some YouTube videos, some reviews online. And then it's an early stage company. So this is the chance there to build, to be part of a team. So I'm working very closely with the co-founders. We have one in the room here. Thank you, Albert, for joining me. I have also people from the product management team here today from Spiff. When you're in enterprise, at some point, it's very difficult to build a brand new product. You will do only incremental updates, and generally the UI will be very stable for 5-10 years. Each time you want to do something big, it feels like you're pulling teeth because it's the culture, the install base. So this is what's happening sometime in enterprise, and you will notice that the way they grow is by acquisition. They don't really build net new. And you have the opportunity to do it when you are into smaller companies and startups, for example. You have really the chance to redesign and to do it right. So this is about me. Like this. So my vision of a great product, I thought that it was a good way to start, just to give you my opinion, my perspective, my humble opinion on what I think is a great product after 25 years of observing success, failures, things that are growing or not. Product design and user experience, number one in my mind. It has to be appealing, intuitive, easy to implement and configure, high quality. So you can have everything right on the UI, but if you have tons of bugs and it's not going to work. Actually, you will lose if you don't pay attention to the quality. Competitive, be curious. It's not to reverse engineer, absolutely not. It's to understand where is the market. Okay, so when you identify a product gap, it's not enough to do par functionality. You have to differentiate. So you need to understand where is the bar on the market. And I am always telling my team, then you have to shoot higher. Okay, so it's not enough to be par functionality. So I'm a pretty competitive person. So I look at, demonstration of competitors, all public information available, and I read analyst report. Data-driven, so this is one of the benefits of moving from waterfall and on-premise software to SaaS, is we have access now to all this wonderful data, but we need to use it. So usage data, adoption metrics, sometimes you can even see if you're bouncing users on new features. Before, at my time at Microsoft, until 2012, we were just shipping DVDs, and we didn't know how the customer was using the software. So I think this is one of the benefits of SaaS, is to have all this data, but also looking at win-loss analysis and install-based demographics, which is basically knowing your customers in terms of market segments, industry, country, headquarters. So those are the things that are very important, is to have data. Customer input and satisfaction, just major. So I think some PMs, they know when we put a major feature on the roadmap, they need to name the customers they are going to work with, or did ask for the feature, or going to participate to the pilot and the validation. So it's big. For me, this is an area where in many companies we had to work a little harder to be a little more customer-oriented. Then customer feature requests, definitely you have to deliver on them. If you don't, it will fire back on you at some point. Then the normal metrics on product NPS scores, trending, and feedback. And Again, this is, so we are super attentive, at Spiff, at every organization. I've been on those customer metrics. Great product is also having a good brand. But the brand starts internally. I've been brought into companies where actually sales was fighting product. I'm not talking specifically to Spiff, actually the situation doesn't happen there. But I've been brought into organizations where the sales team didn't trust the product, where there were conflict between services and the product. I even went to some companies that, I know we don't have reporting. That was the CFO of a company telling me that we didn't have reporting when we were an ERP, we got a full suite. So sometimes the battle about the brand starts internally. So if you don't win internally, it's going to be even harder to go fight externally. Then revenue and growth, obviously, product has to be viable, but on a financial basis, where we have objectives. You want to make sure that you are winning your ideal customer profile, which is called ICP. So you're going to watch your win rate. And when you start losing on your ICP, is maybe you have a product gap you need to fit. You need to put on the roadmap, and I call them stop gap, so competitive stop gaps. Customer retention in SaaS, this is, so the metric is best in class is 92%. And some companies are achieving right now 94. I know a company doing $300 million annual recurring revenue, and they have 94% retention, which is exceptional. Some of the companies I work for, one of them starting with a W is 92, and they are into very large amounts. So just give you, some of the metrics, and 86, 88, 89 is considered mediocre. Everything that is even close to 90 is not enough. And then the last one is not, it's something that is bigger than the software, it's bigger than the product. It's the entire customer end-to-end life cycle. There are all the touch points and the signals when you started to work with the customer as a prospect. Then you sell the software. Then we implement. Then we support, we fix bugs. But what you want is a customer to renew, but even better, you want them to renew and buy more. Okay, so those are the things super important, and you need to consider that the happiness of the customer goes way beyond the product. It's an entire experience, and even the billing, the collection, it's part of the what I call the customer centricity, which is the end-to-end customer life cycle that you need to consider. So it's a circle, it's a full flow. You start from signing the customer to renewing the customer, and then you are going to put everything, the services, the product team, because we have usage data, you are going to put customer success, you are going to put support, and position all the touch points and make sure that the experience of this customer is optimal, and generally you will find always ways to improve it. The first advice I will give you is you should centralize on your CRM system. So this is how I will recommend companies to do it instead of creating an island of data about customers. So how I see my role at Spiff, that was on the previous slide, build and champion best-in-class product team, contribute to the corporate strategy like I will do with my peers on the executive team. It's all about, like right now we are talking about fundraising, investors, we are talking about analysts, markets, countries. Provide guidance for product alignment. So it's, you will see in the slide that we are talking about autonomy, delegation. I don't like to micromanage, and I think people should not be micromanaged. They should be open to listen to guidance, be influenced maybe by just asking questions. And then those 4 categories that I put there, so someone just before said, I would like to be an executive, I would like to be a VP of product, SVP at some point. Those 4 categories are super important because if you take a role like mine, or if you become an SVP product and you arrive in a company, we are going to ask you, what is your plan? What are you going to do? So what I do generally is I will do a 30, 60, 90 days on those 4 categories. And with those 4 categories, you're going basically to embrace the business. So people is number 1, is you, because without the PMs and engineering team, there is no product. Product is number 2. And you had a definition of what I believe is a great product and 6 criteria that have themselves 3 components. Process, we need to have process. We need to have alignment on some GA dates, some quality, we call it also the software development life cycle. So this is what I call the process, the tooling like Jira. Some companies, some teams are using product planning tools like AHA, product board. So this is process. And then customers, again, that was something that when we were doing on-premise and waterfall, we didn't have the 4th one. We were, I'm not going to name the companies, but the one that were on-premise, we were focusing only on people, product, and process. With SaaS, we need to add customers, and because basically the retention, I explained to you the customer centricity, and also customers, I will include prospects. So it's not only customer, you need to help sales to close deals sometime for a large amount. Deliver on the product strategy, and I think the roadmap is a very heavy topic, but it's important to align the team on a cadence to publish a roadmap. So we have to commit a bit. We need to give some dates. This is also to have some good relationship with our sales team, with our marketing. The quality is paramount for me. And I joined an organization where we were starting at 2,500 bugs plus 1,500 security bugs. That was like, wow, a lot of technical depth. So first, you need to address, you need a plan to reduce, but then you need a plan also to make sure that they don't show up again. So you need measurement, you need to adapt the processes, the QA. Sometimes in small companies, there is no QA. You have basically the engineering team with the PM doing the QA, and this is totally normal in smaller companies. As they grow, they start to have 1 QA, maybe a QA team, 3 people, but then you need also to organize processes, and you need to put some criteria. So one that we did set, for example, at Spiff, not sharing confidential, is we want to be single-digit bug per Scrum team or per pod. Okay? For me, it should be single-digit across everything, but there's no reason to create unnecessary pressure on the team. Single-digit is already an achievement, and after a year now, I think 60 to 70% of the teams are single-digit. Remember, we were close to 500 or 400 at some point. Collaborate with peers, stakeholders, so super important in my role. I need to represent the product team. I need to work with my peers, the executive team. Obviously, we need to make good music. I want to make sure that there is no unaddressed ask or complaints, or not complaints, I will not say that, but ask or inquiries from services, customer success, and the sales team, product marketing. And we need to align on common goals. And I think those are sometimes you will see in some of the advice that I will share with you, some signals that you need to catch, because it's a confession of a CFO, not CFO, CPO, so I will give you some insight. So let's get to some top of the minds and techniques. I think my team will not be surprised on some of them. So I did many trainings when I was at Microsoft, obviously, Oracle, PeopleSoft, and they train you, it's called a partner bench, to at some point manage, a lot of large teams, like hundreds to 1,000. And then they teach you some techniques, and I wanted to share some of them that I believe will be useful not only in your professional career, but you can apply them also in your personal life. The first one is MRI. And I'm just going to read the quote there. You must consider only the best, the kindest, the most helpful interpretation of every communication and respond solely to that version. So I put some examples where sometimes people will get offended, or they will get, like, oh, I was not invited to this meeting, I was not, or he said that into the email. You have to go back to this definition. That will help you so much. And it's not natural. Many people will be defensive, they will feel, sad, or they will have a moment of panic when they should not. Most of the time, if not 100% of the time, it's not because you were not invited to a meeting that people want your head or they want you out. Sometimes they are just simple mistakes. And you need to stick to this. It's super hard. I have to do training myself some time ago, and I will tell you about some stories on my trainings. But it's a skill and a mindset, and it has to be intentional. I hope you will remember MRI, because it will happen to you. It probably did happen already. And that will calm, you don't want to bring unnecessary anxiety at home. Okay? There is no, like a complot, against you. No, it's not working like this. So MRI is one, and I think it's important, and it's also about trust. Here, it's a tool that I was taught at Microsoft. But that was to diffuse and respond to emotional situations. They call it the mush separator. I think there is a book about it. I really like the framework, but I believe you can apply it also to yourself, just a way to communicate. So when I communicate to my team, sometimes they will hear me saying, I am concerned, or I am disappointed. Then I would say, why? And then I just explain, what do I want? If you touch the three corners of this triangle, you will be just perfect communicator, just perfect. Be very attentive on the objective. It doesn't have to be negative. You can be happy, you can be pleased. So you have all those objectives, gloomy, you can, all the, and you're better in English than me. So you can pick the right one. The why, just to make sure that they understand the why. And then, what do we do then? What do we continue doing? What do we stop doing? Or what do we start doing? It's not only to diffuse emotional situations. If you communicate that way, I guarantee to you, your communication and the feedback about your messaging is going to be way more clearer. It's going to be to the point. I think this is a good technique. It's not difficult to remember. How do you feel? Why? What do you want? Okay, so this is a very simple technique, but I think some people, if they will apply it on a regular basis, will be fantastic. I think that will be just like great for your team, for your peers. So this one is the hardest one. And sometimes you have to go in training for this one because it's super hard. So some of those leadership training, they teach you to be centered, to be a balanced leader. I'm not saying that I'm perfect at all those exercises, okay? But if you want at some point to manage tens, hundreds, thousands of people, you need to be a centered leader. You cannot just be over-convinced, over-connected and not convinced. You cannot be in any of those quadrants because you will lose. If you are extreme here, like you are super connected, this is too much. This is too much. So what they train you is to feel and identify when you're out of your center, know your emotional triggers, and as soon as you realize that you are out of your center, you have to go back into your center. And they train you the same exercise for 2 days in a row sometimes because it's not natural. There are some gifted leaders. There are some very gifted leaders, talented. Some others, they need to learn those techniques. Otherwise, you can be very convinced, but the audience is not listening to you. So I'm not I hope you engage with me. I think that I'm pretty convinced. So what I say, maybe it's too much. So I'm not sure I am centered just at the time I'm talking to you, but it's a try. I try to not be too much. I try also to look at the audience to see if you're listening, if you're engaged with me. So this one is a tough one, but you will have to work on this if you want to be a leader, if you want to a great leader and scale to large teams. I will recommend that you start, feeling it. In terms of book recommendation, so this one was actually recommended by our CEO and the executive team when I joined Spiff. This is the 5 dysfunctions of a team. How many of you know about this book? So, yeah, so 10%, a little less. And I thought the summary of it, which is basically this pyramid here, most of the time, dysfunctions start by absence of trust. Okay? So I got the question, how do you make sure that the roadmap is good or something like that? I got the question, and I answered because first I trust the product manager. So if we have to always question the work of the people that are paid to do it, that are specialized to do it, so first we need to start with the trust. And then, of course, you can explain how you structure the roadmap, but the trust is fundamental. And sometimes some teams will have frictions because they miss the trust. But then you need to, trust we have seen it, many times, but even if they do well here, then they will hit the second limitation, is the fear of conflict. It's not like you want to have conflict like violent, no, it's healthy, it's about the debate. Okay? So you're not going to, it's very important to also, so some people will just duck, they will not say that they disagree, which is going to be hard because you cannot build a team without trust, but then you cannot have the team on one goal because you have people that are just not on board. So I'm not going to go through all of them, but basically, inattention to results, companies that are teams that are inattentive to results are not going to defeat competition. This I can tell you right away. I'm pretty sure of that. So it is an opinion. I may be over-convinced on this, but this is super important that the consequence is basically you're not going to be the leader on the market if you don't follow or if you don't pay attention to the results. So the reason why I talk about the win rate, the revenue, the win-loss analysis, all those things that are a bit, not directly into product management, but I think they are needed in the role. The second book, for me, I consider this book as a breakthrough. There was always, a bit of a confusion or a difficulty to reconcile SaaS and Agile. So a methodology with the way you are operating the software. This book is finally reconciling. This book is putting definitions on things that we didn't have a definition. We are talking about different types of teams. So here will be more your application team. That will be your foundation platform team. Very interesting, you have enabling and CST. CST is a solution for some of the issues you may have with what is called the cognitive load. So if you have senior engineers, senior PMs, and they started very early, in the group, they have tons of knowledge. When it comes to engineering, the senior engineers, those are the people the software that fit in their head is really big. They are expert in front end, they are expert in back end, they are full stack, but they know the history of everything. And we never have a good place to put those people. If you put them into a normal team, then they become the senior. And then, they feel that if they stay there, they will have all the workload, that they spend their time training others. And then because they have so much knowledge, then the work, they need to fix all the bugs or give advice on everything. This is when their cognitive load is getting in the way for them to be happy. So you have a risk of losing them, and actually losing your senior developers is a risk in our business. So the CST is a way to group those senior developers in sort of architect innovation lab, and they stay together. So they don't need to be super large, but when you have 2 or 3 people in CST and someone cannot troubleshoot, an incident you have in production, the knowledge is there. And those teams can work across all teams. So it's not some of the full stack engineers we have, they can work actually on all the technology around, it's not only Spiff, but I will say all the functional areas. Enabling teams is very important in companies where, like startups, I wish I could embed UX into a Scrum team, but I don't have enough UX. So they need to work across teams. So it's a discipline, it's a shared service. And this is why we call them enabling teams. And you have also QA, will be into this definition. So there are those intermediate situations where you don't have enough people to embed them into the team, like a nice structure of a Scrum team. So there are more the shared services. And then the book is also talking about the way you should interact with those. So you should have a look to this book. I think it's 200 pages with large font, a lot of drawings, so you can do it very fast. So just to go into things I wanted to share with you, my top of the mind advices, so be data driven. I think I mentioned it at the beginning. This is going to help you making decisions, influencing others. For example, if you're not in agreement with a decision, but you have the data, you are in a good position to basically overturn the decision because you have the data. Any CEO executive, when you put the data on the table, this is it. They are not going to go against the data. So be data-driven in your scope, in statements, in changing strategy, do some research, have some data, or ask someone to get you the data. Problem solving. So this one, my team knows, because I apply it to my CEO. Don't bring me issues if you don't have solution. Our role here is product manager is problem solving. So I don't need more issues on my table. So if you didn't bring, I can probably find a solution for you, but you need to do the job. So don't bring issues if you don't have a solution. Do your homework to help your manager, apply it to yourself and apply it to your directs. So you will see people complaining sometime into a meetings, but after 10 minutes complaining, so what do we do there? So basically they leave the entire situation for us to figure out, or are they going to do something to propose option A, option B? We can do the work, but this is what I will tell also my team is when I start doing your work, you should worry. So those are the things that are pretty harsh, okay? So I know it's harsh. I know sometimes, I will get feedback in ENPS, but this is to help your future when you work with other teams, other managers. You need to help them instead of bringing issues. Of course, we can do problem solving. Be short and concise in communication, the opposite of me. Then ask for feedback about you, 360. You don't need to have an external consultant. You can organize it with HR. It doesn't take long. Generally, you will take peers, directs, of course, your manager and someone from a different department. Accept and reflect on feedback. So I have to write it because it took me some trainings. I'm going to be very honest with you. That was probably 10 or 15 years ago. I would not take feedback. I will try to outsmart, if I can, or be defensive. That was my behavior. And this is when, I heard that this is not going to work. So they sent me into, so I did the training twice. Yeah? And this is true story. They sent me twice, because the first one I left, and then they said, if you want to grow in your career, you will have to go to this training. So I had to go back there. So basically, they do some exercise where they pair people, and then one has to pick up on something. You know, he will say, hey, the cut of your jeans is not good. Me, they did pick up on, I had a Rolex at the time. I was a golden boy, you know, they pick you. And they tried really to push your buttons. And they train you to say, thank you. Do you have anything else to add? I mean, for me, you know, to say that, I mean, like, so those are the things. And some other people were failing. They were not able, you know, some people even cried. They failed the exercise. But then they will just redo and redo until you accept feedback, and then you have to reflect on feedback. Personal stories, I think I shared with you some. Be authentic. I really try. Stand for your team, super important. Even in situations where there are mistake failures, you have to say the we, you have to take accountability, you need to protect your team. I think it's lead by example. So you went through all the steps, you know, of writing requirements, doing product strategy, even coding a bit for me, designing, shipping products. So you know that sometimes if we are short on knowledge or the task of someone, you can do it, but then it's about teaching people to do after you. I take this sentence here, this is Satya Nadella from Microsoft. Be decisive at the right time, at his level, you know, it's so definitely, I think Satya is probably one of the top CEO. He has reached, for me, category of saint. So meaning that it's hard to find. He hired me at Microsoft when he was general manager of Dynamics. I was sitting into his bi-weekly meeting with his direct. So I had the chance to, this is how, you know, I did come up with the top of the mind. So Satya will have top of the minds of the week. So he will share that with his direct. And I thought it was a very good way to not have a structured agenda, but just address what is important in his mind. So just sharing this with you. Do not criticize in public. So if you do that, you're creating enemies. You need to ask questions, and I will say don't corner people in public. Don't do that. And provide feedback in one-on-one only. Please follow this guidance. I'm really hoping that you're going to follow that. Otherwise, you know, it's going to be hard. Even people will consider that you're not a fair person. And for the managers, no big surprise there. So obviously, diversity, equity, inclusion, so has to be intentional. Can explain, you know, what does that mean? Be respectful and empathetic with your team. Protect the employee work-life balance. So this is, even if your CEO or execs will push you to have people working late or over the weekend, I don't believe that you need to do that to be very successful. You can have a very normal life at work, be extremely successful, and you don't need to burn out or burn yourself on doing extra hours. Sometimes, yeah, since I'm sharing confession, so yeah, it's, it doesn't matter how much work you put into something, only the results count. So for me, it doesn't matter if you spend an hour or a week. You understand, only the results count. So it's not good if someone's saying, oh, I worked, you know, super late, and then I worked over the weekend. So then you should expect, you know, like extraordinary result. But I will not recommend people to work too much. I think you need to balance your personal life and work, and try to live apart. You know, do not bring too much work at home. Address noise signals. So those signals, the most important one, if I look at all the teams, sales is the one you need to watch. If you're getting negative signals from sales, you really need to address it. Don't wait. Because if the salespeople are doing their numbers, you are not in a very strong position at that moment. But then it's not only sales. You can have services. You can have customer success. This is why when I was putting the definition of a great product, you remember I had customer feature request for customers, but then I have also services, customer success, feature request. Make sure you address some of them. If you don't, it will fire back on you at some point. If you ignore the feature requests of your service system, like they are your sister and your brother, right? They are implementing the product that you designed. If you don't listen to them, at some point it will fire back. But the first signal you need to address is sales. So this is my recommendation. I've been brought to one of the large logos that was there when I met the CEO. I thought the problem was roadmap. He said, no. You need to fix the relationship between sales and product so they don't trust each other. And he said the machine is broken. All right. Then, I'm not saying that I am very good at all of this. I'm just sharing, maybe some wish list. But be strong, not rude. Be kind, not weak. I try to just find, this balance. Remember, the balance leader is always in the center. So there is a way you can do that. And that was pretty much, what I wanted to share with you. So I didn't talk about my product, but Spiff. We are commission software. We want to take the pain out of the commission process. We want to motivate reps to basically meet their numbers, have fun and by using the app. So this is what we do at Spiff. And we are following, some of those criteria that I'm defining for great software. And we are still working on it. And this is what I wanted to share with all of you today. So open to Q&A or if we have a little time.
Thank you so much. That was amazing. Questions for Raphael?
Hey, Raphael, thanks for the wonderful presentation. Lot to learn. So I have a question related to the product discovery. Like, how do you start with product discovery for a B2B product, and what are the process in place for you to do that?
So, like discovery, we have user experience research. So we have the research team that will start doing the research just to validate the pain points, working with customers, looking at some data available. So this is the first step. Some companies, they put a full framework for discovery. There is also a risk there. Is sometimes more you're going to discover, more you're going to list requirements. And in my experience, at some point, you need to stop the discovery and start coding. Because the best discovery you will do is when you start coding. So first you frame, make sure that you are, unless it's a new feature, a new product, that the market is there, that you have validation, make sure you have data, because someone may ask you, how did you end up doing this? But I will advise you to limit the discovery, because you can spend so much time. And each time you're going to spend on discovery, you will list even more requirements. When I'm saying start coding, you will see. So you need to do discovery. At some point, you draw a line in the sand, and then you start code, and you will see. Discovery will continue just a little, but framed.
Thank you.
Thank you. I think one of the most profound things I got out of your presentation was your most respectful interpretation slide. That's something that I kind of developed my own version of that a few years ago, and I'm kind of mad that I didn't do that earlier. Not only am I happier and get along with colleagues better, of just understanding that there's more going on than just my interaction with them, that being charitable to them is a gift to both parties, and hope that they be charitable to you. So I'm kind of curious, like I had a toxic situation at work, and I was dumb enough not to leave, and so that's kind of where I had to develop my version of that. Do you mind sharing in your career how you developed the desire to treat others in every communication and give that the most respectful interpretation? And how has that helped you personally in your career?
So I think I learned how to adopt MRI through some failures. So meaning that managing people, I mean, it's when you get some feedback, and this is when you understand that you were probably misaligned. I was overreacting. I may have overreacted sometimes to some emails, to things that I wrote as example, not invited to a meeting, I would have been bitter. And that was not helping anyone. Even my team came to me and said, hey, Rafi, it's, I was saying, no, it was not against you, people were, even it was creating some sort of discomfort, and it was me, my ego. So they sent me to a training, it's called Egonomics. I did a lot of training, and because I had a lot of defects. But I really want to champion the best, and I really want to grow a career of product managers, product teams. Happy to see you, Angela, when she moved to another company. But this is how, even if you apply MRI, this is when you realize that most of the other people don't. So you need to, we did an HR training when we explained to them this is better than a concept, you need to apply it. And as you said, it brings you peace. So you don't need to think about something like someone is trying to do something bad to you, or I mean, suddenly your stress goes down. So MRI, most respectful interpretation. And yeah, thank you very much for sharing also that it did help you, because this is how it helped me as well. So through failures is the answer to, this is how I learned.
Thank you. All right, 2 more questions. One online. How do you identify noise signals? Can you give specific examples or red flags that people can spot?
Oh, yeah. So when you hear things like, oh, the product team, they don't listen. Oh, they say they ship that, but they never ship. Oh, it's full of bugs anyway. All those little sentences you will hear, and you hear them. I mean, they will come to you at some point, and it's not always granted. Sometimes it's just they did not understand what the product was doing, or maybe they don't know how to sell it. But you hear those signals when you have the leader of sales telling, my team said that, and it starts like this, noise. It's basically noise, but the disconnect is started, and then you have to rebuild it. So basically, as I said, before you go fight competition, you have to fight internally. No fight, but you have to basically win internally. What are the other signals? I mean, you will find services, they will talk about implementation times. They will say, again, product doesn't listen. They do features that customer ask or not, but they don't care about consultants implementing the product. You need to pay attention to that as well. So those are the signals. They are noise that you hear. People will not send you a written email. You hear the noise. It's sure. And especially if the sales are not making their numbers.
Okay, one question here.
What advice do you have for managing stakeholders, especially when you're building like a new product, and so there's a lot of uncertainty about what the next feature is that we should be working on, and everybody has an opinion. And so as the product manager, you're saying, this is the thing that we should be doing. And so, what's the best way for managing the stakeholders?
So basically you're asking about how do we make decisions on the roadmap and making like agreements. So data will always help you. Okay? Then when it comes to the roadmap, I have 4 categories that are, for me, it's customer commit is number 1. If you have a customer commit, it's not negotiable. That's it. It's number 1. So otherwise, I mean, let's do a different business. The number 2 is stopgap. So if we are starting losing deals into our ICP, and we have a product gap, for me it's number 2 on the list. I'm not going to lose deals on my ICPs. I need to fill the gap. And as I said, it's not par functionality. It has to be superior. Then, I have my team listening to me, they know feature request. And I'm serious about this, extremely, because I know the consequence of not being attentive. So you have sales requests, services, and then you have customer success. And then the fourth category is those initiatives. So you see it leaves only 20% for those big features, and data, generally data, is going to help making the decision on going to this segment or designing this feature first versus another. So hope I answered a bit of your, and the stakeholders, when it comes to, you will have execs, but if you address the feature requests, you will have probably the services and customer success you don't have to worry about. Okay, so.
All right, we'll do one more question here.
Can be 1 or 2 features only.
Do you have any recommendations for product team structure for a startup? For example, for us, we have one product manager, one web team, one mobile team, one UX team, and we're looking to separate it either by user group or by product. And I'm just curious what your thoughts are on.
So it's kind of similar to the team topologies, so apps and foundation. So it's okay to not have a PM on foundation. Generally, there are more technical PMs, and the functional should be on apps. So this is how I will, in very small team, if you have only one PM, but I will always separate the foundation, what is needed to run the software, versus the apps, the front end and everything that you are selling is, but you need the workflow, you need security, you need translation. I mean, all those things that are in foundation. So the first thing will be to create two different groups. And if you have only one PM, it has to go on apps. This is the most important. You can have a technical taking care. Actually, you will see some PMs, they are coming from different backgrounds. And I've been quite fortunate with PMs that were coming from technical only, like engineering.
All right, give it up for Raphael one more time.
Thank you very much.
I know some of you still have questions. Raphael doesn't bite. He came here for food and to speak to you, so he'll stay around. There's still food. So come up and talk to him. And thanks, Spiff, for providing lunch again, and Podium for having us. We'll see you tomorrow.